Hey y'all, it's me, Tree. So today we are starting in sadness, and then we move to trust, and then we're ending in love. So, sadness, this card talks about those moments where there is actually something present that needs to be processed. This doesn't talk about being disappointed or having a bad day. This is real pain. So when sadness is present, there is usually some kind of loss also present. And also when this card comes out, it's talking about giving ourselves the time and space that we actually need to process whatever it is that we had just been through. Then we get trust. And this is trusting the universe, trusting the road that we're on. But it's also trusting the choices that we are making, even when we can't necessarily see where those choices are going to take us. And then we land on love. And this is love in all of its forms. This talks about the love we have for ourselves, the love we give to other people, and also our ability to keep our hearts open to connection. So with these emotional cards coming out, I'm gathering that something has happened here. There is some genuine sadness around it. There has been a need to trust in something higher than yourselves, and then ultimately it is leading the collective back into love. That's exciting. Let's get into this message. We're starting under this emotional tone of sadness, and the tarot is coming in with Justice, the Page of Swords, the Two of Swords. So Justice immediately tells me this is cause and effect energy that's happening here. This is doing what's right and then experiencing whatever comes from that choice. But Justice, this card also talks about life lessons. And I feel like that is really important here because I don't think the collective is learning something for the first time. I think y'all were put into a situation where y'all had to actually apply something that y'all have already learned. And whatever happened here, y'all did the right thing. Y'all made the choice that kept y'all in line with justice. And then we have the Page of Swords. This is where all this mental activity comes in, because I'm getting y'all have been watching something, observing it, thinking about it, going back over it. There's a lot of mental chatter around whatever happened here, collective. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, because the Page of Swords, she brings clarity through observation. So I'm getting y'all are studying the pattern. Y'all are looking at what happened. Y'all are looking at how it happened. And y'all are looking at all the behavior that was involved. And I think the collective has been really trying hard to figure out, did I miss something? Was there something here that I didn't see? Did I make the right choice? Or was there another way to look at this? Those are all questions a Page of Swords would ask. And then we land on the Two of Swords. And now we have an impasse. We have an obstacle. We have an unclear path. And that's interesting because the collective just did the right thing. Y'all observed the pattern. Y'all saw what y'all needed to see. And y'all made a choice that kept you in line with justice and doing the right thing. And yet somehow that choice y'all made put you on a road where y'all couldn't see what came next. And I think that's where the sadness comes into this, because, I don't know, maybe the unclear path is supposed to be unclear right now. Maybe there isn't another decision to make. Maybe the collective needs to sit on the bench for a minute, because whatever y'all just went through, sadness says that that hurts, because there's genuine sadness around this. And sadness also specifically tells us that when there is real pain to process, there is a whole entire inner healing process to go through. Take time, take space, process what happened. Get y'all's bearings back underneath y'all's feet. Because doing the right thing, that doesn't mean that it didn't hurt. And doing the right thing doesn't mean y'all immediately know what's going to come next. Sometimes doing the right thing just means, I know I'm not going that way. And maybe that's all y'all needed to know for a minute. Because then we're moving to this emotional undertone of trust. And the tarot gives us the Seven of Wands reversed, the Seven of Swords reversed. Here's that Nine of Coins again. That's definitely our theme this week. So, this Seven of Wands reversed, this feels like the collective finally putting the fight down. There's nothing left to defend here. There is nothing left to push against. Y'all don't need to convince anybody of anything. And y'all don't need to force anything. Y'all don't need to keep standing there trying to make something happen. Right? Then we have the Seven of Swords reversed. And this is where I think the mystery behind this situation finally gets solved. Because one of the many meanings underneath this card is an unworkable strategy. And there it is, collective. That is what all of this mental chatter has been about. I'm getting y'all have been going back over this situation, studying it, analyzing it, trying to figure out if there was something y'all missed. And eventually, well, I'm getting y'all finally realize that y'all didn't miss a thing. This situation was unworkable from the very beginning. There was a below board strategy involved here, wasn't there, collective? Something about the way this situation was being handled that was never going to produce a healthy outcome or positive result. And I think the collective needed to fully integrate that knowing, because it's one thing to walk away from something because y'all's intuition tells y'all something isn't right. And it is another thing entirely to get enough distance from it that y'all can finally look back on it and say, oh, there it is. That's what I was seeing. That's why this didn't feel right. That's why I couldn't make sense of it. It wasn't because y'all were missing some magical piece of information that would suddenly make everything in the situation make sense. No. It didn't make sense because it was unworkable. And once this lands, the analysis is over. There's nothing left to solve. And then look, collective, look what comes next. Your 9 of coins, the most self-sufficient card in the deck. So I'm getting, once the analysis stops, y'all come right back to y'all selves. And that's the big payoff. The collective returns to who they were before all of this nonsense even happened. Independent, grounded, secure. Knowing y'all's value and back inside y'all's own life. And now this trust, that makes even more sense because y'all trusted the universe enough to take the time out. Y'all trusted the choice that y'all made even when y'all couldn't see where that choice was taking y'all. Y'all took the time and sat in sadness. You all sat on the bench. Y'all let yourself process it. And eventually the universe lands this big payoff right in y'all's lap. This was not necessarily some big external reward. This was clarity. That's the big payoff here, collective. Y'all finally see the situation exactly for what it was. And now that y'all can see it, y'all can put the damn thing down, which that leads us directly into love. Because I'm getting, now that this whole analysis is over, now that y'all don't have to keep replaying this thing, now that the mental noise can finally shut itself off, y'all can go back to loving yourselves. Y'all can go back to loving other people. Y'all can go back to being open for love. And whatever happened here does not get to change that about y'all. And then the tarot is driving the message home. I've got the Death reversed. I've got the 7 of Coins reversed. And I've got the 6 of Swords reversed. So man, I'm getting this is just doubling down on what we already just saw, because Death reversed, this tells me that whatever y'all were dealing with was not transforming. It wasn't changing. It wasn't regenerating into something better. What y'all were dealing with was stuck. And once this mystery was solved, the collective can finally do a full clear and purge. There is no reason to keep carrying this. There is no reason to keep waiting to see whether it becomes something different. I don't think the collective even wants this now that they're seeing the 7 of Swords, right, collective? Because after this death, we have the 7 of Coins reversed. And this is where I think y'all can finally look back and see what this situation cost y'all. This bogged the collective down. For a minute, y'all were aimless. Y'all were sitting on an unclear path trying to figure out where the hell y'all were supposed to go from here. And more than anything, this situation wasn't worth y'all's time. It wasn't worth y'all's energy, and it wasn't worth y'all's effort. And I don't mean that the lesson wasn't worth it, because clearly the lesson mattered, collective. What I mean is whatever y'all were trying to understand was not worth continuing to invest in. And then the message ends on this 6 of Swords reversed. And this is where I think we need to sit for a second. Because 6 of Swords reversed can talk about something going from bad to worse. This can be a real storm of trouble. And at first glance, getting this 6 of Swords reversed sounds terrible. Until y'all look at where the collective actually is. Because y'all aren't in this storm. And I think that's the point. The storm is where this could have gone. Because what happens if the collective goes against justice? What happens if the collective sees the pattern and then ignores it? And what happens if y'all know something isn't right, but y'all override yourselves anyways? What happens if y'all abandon the lesson because y'all want a different outcome? This 6 of Swords reversed tells us exactly what happens if any of those things happen. Things go from bad to worse. And suddenly this whole message, it looks different, because this wasn't just a life lesson. Y'all already knew the lesson. This was the moment where life asked, okay, but have y'all embodied it? Can y'all actually live it? Can y'all make the choice when the situation is standing right in front of y'all? Can y'all trust what y'all have learned even when doing that means y'all don't know what happens next? And you guys, y'all did. And that is embodiment in motion. Y'all didn't need another lesson. Y'all needed an opportunity to demonstrate that lesson had become a part of who y'all are. And that is exactly what happened here, because collective, if the lesson hadn't been learned, who knows where y'all would be right now? My guess, you guys would be caught in some really bad weather, but y'all aren't. The collective went right back to where they were before this wave of bad weather ever came through. And really, collective, aside from the time it took y'all to analyze this thing fully, what did y'all actually lose? Because y'all didn't lose yourselves. Y'all didn't lose y'all's ability to love. Y'all didn't lose your independence. And y'all definitely didn't lose y'all's integrity. And y'all didn't get pulled into something that was never going to be worth the investment. Instead, y'all got to watch the storm pass y'all by while y'all stayed warm and dry and undercover. And most importantly, y'all stayed safe. That's the reward. Not that nothing hurt, because it did. That's why sadness is here. Not that y'all knew exactly where y'all were going, because y'all didn't. That's why trust is here. But y'all trusted yourselves anyways, didn't you, collective? And because y'all did, Y'all get to return to love without dragging that storm back with y'all. Y'all get to open y'all's hearts again. Y'all get to return to yourselves. And maybe that is one of the clearest signs that healing has actually become embodiment. It isn't that life stops bringing the lesson around. It's that when the lesson shows up again, y'all don't make the same choice. Instead, y'all recognize it. Y'all respond differently. And y'all let the storm pass y'all by. Right? Because that's what happens. Good job, collective. This is the work really paying off, and I just love how it's hitting on my dear Dree from this week about embodiment. It seems like a really important theme right now. So that's the message that I have for y'all today. And if this one landed, then like my message, and if you made it to the end, I want to know. And especially if you have shown embodiment in motion through a lesson that you have learned, tell me. And most of all, remember, where there is love, there is light. I'll see y'all real soon.